Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Tuesday, February 13th, 2025. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. This podcast covers the national champions. I'll be joined in just a minute by Bill Kurelic and Mark Porter. We are adding staffers, but you knew that. I've also got you a deal with Cornbread Hemp, America's first ever USDA organic THC gummy. The mission at Cornbread: improve your quality of life with the highest quality hemp. You want a happy, healthy hour? This is the natural and healthier way to experience a carefree moment. Cornbread's THC gummies offer a balanced sense of happiness and relaxation. No harsh solvents like petrochemicals or industrial acids, unlike most hemp THC products. If you're looking for a healthier way, like I said, to enjoy a carefree moment, you've got to give Cornbread Hemp a try. They've created the first ever USDA organic THC gummy that's, 100% legal. Or why would we be involved? As a special offer for our Bucknuts 5 listeners and our Bucknuts Morning 5 listeners, if I could read, you can get 30% off your first order. Just visit cornbreadhemp.com/Bucknuts and use promo code, wouldn't you know, Bucknuts at checkout. cornbreadhemp.com/Bucknuts. Use code Bucknuts for 30% off your first order. Cheers to a happier, healthy hour. The Dean, broadcasting from environs unknown, Bill Kurelic and Mark Porter is here. Gentlemen, there was a lot of talk about who might be the defensive coordinator. Names were bandied about, and they settled on kind of a polarizing name in Matt Patricia. Now, Matt Patricia is known mostly for his Patriot lineage and his, let's say, non-successful stint as Detroit Lions head coach. However, he is a well-versed defensive mind, very smart guy. Lots of different feedback on this one. It's a name that kind of came out of nowhere. Bill, your thoughts on the addition of Matt Patricia? I don't think he's going to have a ton of recruiting responsibility to start out, but just your thoughts on the hire.
Well, Ryan Day has gone back to the NFL. If you remember, everybody probably remembers, the first defensive coordinator he hired, Jeff Hafley, was from the NFL. And at the time, that was a bit of a surprise, too. In fact, I said this, I think, last show on Tuesday, that I had a really good source that told me everybody was kind of off base guessing on who Ryan Day's first recruiting, or I should say defensive coordinator was going to be. You got to think out of the box. And I think NFL, it turned out to be Jeff Hafley. That turned out pretty well. He wasn't here long, but he did a really good job. And the hope is that this one was maybe a little bit out of the box too, but he's gone back. Ryan Day's gone back to the NFL and hired Matt Patricia. As you mentioned, it's a little bit of a, I think you used the word controversial hire. Maybe a bit out of the box, maybe a little bit of a surprise, but he's got a whole lot of defensive coordinator background and knowledge. So, we'll see how that goes. Recruiting wise, that's a total blank sheet of paper because he, has been more of an NFL guy. So we will see how that goes. I guess I'm cautiously optimistic. And when you look at Ryan Day's hires, he's maybe missed on one, but basically for the defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator type job, he's hit on them. So, you look at it and say, I guess I would say the chances are good that this is going to be successful.
Bill's voice ran out there at the end. Let's hope that's not recurring. Mark, I'll give you my opinion on everything, but I'd like to hear yours on the addition of Matt Patricia. Do you know anybody who knows him? What do you? Because I don't remember. I don't think you and I have discussed this yet.
No, I had a roommate that played for the Patriots, but they didn't cross over at the same time. That would have been my first phone call. I did follow the Patriots pretty closely then because of that. And what I liked, and when I heard the name, I remember the Super Bowls they won, and he was the defensive coordinator, and that's probably his claim to fame. But, just being the guy that was sitting in a room with Coach Belichick through that era, and the theme of Coach Belichick is he's going to take away the favorite thing you do each week. He's going to take away your favorite receiver, going to take away your favorite run play, whatever it was almost so simple. Like, really, that's all these guys do is figure out what the favorite thing is and kind of shut it down. Well, think of all the game plans that went through his brain. And the NFL channel talked about Matt Patricia today. And one of the things they, alluded to is he's a genius. He was back in college, he was an engineer. He was working on nuclear subs or had an odd job offer to do that type of stuff. I mean, he's really the smartest guy in the room in pretty much every room he walks into. So smart that when the Patriots brought him back, they let him call offense for a year. Do you remember that experiment where, hey, this guy is literally the mad genius where he can do both sides. So there's some pedigree with him and some real life experiences, failing as a head coach, if you want to call it that. Dan's, so eloquently put. But yeah, like those experiences usually make you better, for the second or third time around. And the way college football is, you're going to need that mad scientist to deal with a lot of these offense, to teach these kids. The other thing is they talked about what a teacher he is. So with dealing with young players, I think teaching them schemes, I think you're going to see multiple schemes. I think you're going to see a carbon copy of what he did in the NFL, where we do try to shut down other teams' best play, formation, stuff like that. So I think that's what we can expect. I don't expect him to be a totally different person and try to, change for the college level, although there will be some adaptation. There are some different things that go on down in college you don't see on the NFL level every week. But I, for one, like this hire. I thought it was kind of cool to get this guy in the building. And when you're building a brain trust, bring in some big brains. The bag, we said Chip Kelly had a deep bag and Jim Knowles had a deep bag. Matt Patricia has a deep bag, and bag is a reference for all of that experience and things he can call on. Yeah, I've seen a great slot receiver before. Yeah, I've seen a great power run game before. Think of any unique unicorn type offense you're going to see or dilemma you're going to see. He's been there and done that. So he brings that to the table. Now, how will he assimilate with the other coaches on staff, players, to be determined. Spring ball, you get a feel for that. But right out of the gate, yeah, we got another big brain in the room.
I'm going to quickly go through my points on this. A lot of stuff came up when he was discussing hire. Here's my quickies. My first question was, if he's such a good defensive coordinator, why didn't Bill Belichick bring him to North Carolina? There's a good answer for that. The defensive coordinator at North Carolina is Steve Belichick. I don't care how good you are, you ain't his son. And his son was the DC at Washington the year before, I believe, so there's no argument there. Secondly, he's kind of known as a cerebral guy, kind of an outside-the-box thinker who may be a little bit of a loner with a really good academic background. Hello, just like Jim Knowles. That's basically the description of Jim Knowles that we got as well. So I don't think that's going to be an issue. I love the idea of having a spot on your staff where NFL guys see it as a place to go rehab their reputation. Is this going to be the new Alabama offensive coordinator spot? I think that'd be tremendous. I always love that, and it keeps, I think, the staff fresh. We've talked about the challenges. As good as New England's defense was, I don't know if you guys know this, he was also in Philadelphia for a little bit, and by the end of the year had defensive play calling duties, and that didn't work out. He will never have the advantages he has now coaching Ohio State's defense. When you go into an NFL game, the talent level is, for the most part, largely even. That is not going to be the case in 14 of Ohio State's, hopefully 16 games. So he's going to be coaching from an advantage standpoint more than he ever has been. That's great. Also, I'm going to run down a list for you of some guys I know. I know people are like, oh, he didn't do well with the Lions. He was a flop as a head coach. Let me run down some names for you who coached in the NFL and didn't do all that well. Nick Saban, Urban Meyer. Okay, let's move on. That's obviously not a prerequisite for success. So then you add in like the New England hook. There's no way these guys were up in New Hampshire with all their ties, and he was up in New England for all this time. They don't know something about him, etc. If his personality was such that it was going to derail the staff, I doubt he'd be brought on. And number one, Ryan Day has earned the benefit of the doubt. And in these situations, when you doubt him, this is why you give him the benefit. This is exactly that. So I actually think it's a really interesting hire. Look, if it backfires, so be it. It'll be a rental and he'll be gone. Now, Bill, could you please put this in context? Because Matt Guerrieri, Tim Walton promoted, given titles, so they'll be around. I don't think Patricia is going to be asked to revamp the defense. I think he's going to be asked to tweak and run what they have. Your thoughts on bringing him in while promoting the guys who maybe thought they'd be getting the call?
Well, I think that's an absolutely great move. You know, there's no doubt that Tim Walton deserved a promotion. He's done a both as a coach and as a recruiter. And you heard Ryan Day talk about Matt Guerrieri. Something I'll paraphrase, one of the bright young minds in college football. And who can quibble with the job that the safeties, to how the safeties played this year at Ohio State? They were outstanding. Now, there was some great talent there, and there is some great talent there. You know, starting with Caleb Downs is a great place to start. But Matt Guerrieri, I think he deserved a promotion. So, you know, I love it in that, you know, people earn things. You give it to them then. You promote them if they earn it, and those were well earned. And I think they will be happy in their positions. I think, you know, think of the knowledge that Patricia is coming into Ohio State with. All those years of being around Bill Belichick, and we all know what a great defensive mind Bill Belichick is. So now Guerrieri and Tim Walton get to work with Matt Patricia, and that'll, I think, go well. If it doesn't, as you said, you know, they move on after a year, but I think it's going to go well. Like I said, I'm pretty cautiously optimistic that it'll go well. And I think the biggest thing, as you pointed out, Dan, he's going to have great players. He's going to have a bigger talent advantage than he ever had in the NFL overall. At Ohio State, you may lose great players, but you've got great players coming right behind them.
Mark,
Yeah,
it must be nice to start coaching in college with Ed Reed.
So the way I don't know this to be true, this is just the way I saw it. There was a lot of talk about the Knowles defense changing, whether it was Larry Johnson and, you know, those guys butting heads to change it. And what I noticed on tape over the last year to this year is we did do a lot of that 3 safety look that Coach Knowles brought with him. And as this year went on, we went back to your traditional 4-3, cover 2 or cover 4 behind it. Now Downs was like a force multiplier back there where he was lining up everywhere, and there were some different looks, but it seemed like we went more to the traditional sets than these hide and go seek, you know, smoke and mirror schemes that Coach Knowles really was famous for. So when you say Coach Patricia is going to come in and kind of keep the same defense, I think Coach Patricia has 9 defenses, and the one we're running right now is probably just one of the 9 different things he's well versed in and can do. So I don't think there's really going to be much, he brings in whatever. Someone brought up, you know, terminology. I'm sure he could rock with our technology or our terminology, or, you know, bridge the gap there. But I don't think there's going to be a big scheme overhaul, like new perspective on all this stuff. I think you're going to see week to week game plans. And in the NFL, you know, you don't have as many resources with draft picks. You jump into a 4-3 or a 3-4 and you draft for that scheme, right? Where I think in college, you can kind of take some 3-4 guys and some 4-3 guys, so you can from week to week show up in different things with different personnel and be pretty effective with it. Maybe you have a couple outside linebackers that can get home from pass rushes, and you can do some 3-4 things. Because, Belichick was a 3-4. But last year with JT and Sawyer, those were 4-3 ends. I know I'm going deep here into a rabbit hole, but just knowing what this school of thought has brought, the New England school, and they're going to be multiple. I really think that you're going to see a lot of different creativity from that front. So there you go. There's my thoughts there.
Okay, great point. Go ahead, William.
I think, talking to recruits, and this, I haven't done a lot of talking to recruits yet on Matt Patricia in particular, but talking to recruits all through this hiring process and previous hiring processes for the whole staff. One thing that tends to impress recruits are guys that have an NFL background, a name NFL background. And Matt Patricia has that. And I think that while we're not going to be calling on him to do a lot of recruiting necessarily right away, having that NFL background, when kids get on campus and he can talk to them, I think that's really helpful in recruiting overall, because where does every player, every recruit coming to Ohio State feel like they're going to get to? The NFL. And they're going to see Matt Patricia as a guy that can help them in the NFL. So in that regard, I think it helps Ohio State recruiting.
Okay. Good points. And something came up on the little thread here that I want to get out here. Okay. So a lot of people have ideas on how things work. Some people are in the eye of the storm. So Dietrich Sanchez's son was, you could make a very strong argument, the most highly coveted defensive player in the recruiting class. Her comment is most defensive coordinators don't recruit. Knowles didn't recruit. So now look, and she clarifies this here beautifully. He did come to the school once. But when the mom of your number one recruit says that, and he still came to Ohio State, Tim Walton was very involved in that. And if it doesn't keep Devin Sanchez from coming, we don't have anything to worry about. Okay, so I don't want to hear, if you want to freak out about recruiting and Matt Patricia, you can, but that's your personal journey. You've just seen that it doesn't have a huge effect on it. Now, he may go to the school, or he may zoom in with some rings. You come in your Zoom and all of a sudden there's Super Bowl rings there or whatever. But let's just be honest about that. Some things don't have a to B effect. The other stuff is, and I want to go back to what Bill said here, because I do think we get off kilter on this. Guess what guys coming into Ohio State don't care about? A lot of stuff that happened before them. Guess what they care about? Getting to the NFL. The guys that are Ohio State recruits, most of them, are the best player ever in their town. Ever. Okay? Tell me if I'm wrong here. They are planning on, and like I said, and I've said this here, it used to be like, I'm going to spend my next 4 years at, someone got ahead of it and said, I'm going to spend my next 3 years, and then you know what that means. And they all say that when they're coming to Ohio State. The goal of coming to Ohio State is to get to the NFL and win games, but NFL first. If you go to law school, you go to become a lawyer. It makes sense. So I'm not worried about the recruiting is going to take care of itself. And I'm going to read an ad after this, but coordinators, this is Dad weighing in of the best corner. Coordinators need to be scheming and planning, not plane hopping and kissing mamas. Exactly. I think we now know. So we'll talk about that. We're going to get into some more recruiting stuff. We're going to talk offensive line here in a sec. But what I've got to tell you about is Rocket Money. Got to pay the bills. I don't know about you, but you got a bunch of subs out there. You're paying for a bunch of different subscriptions. You don't know where your money's going. And that is why you get Rocket Money. You sign up for something, forget about it. After the trial period ends, thanks to Rocket Money, you can see all your subscriptions in one place and cancel the ones you're not using anymore. And now you'll be saving money. The personal finance app helps you find and cancel unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Cancel your unwanted subscription and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com rocketmoney.com/game on today. GAMEON. That's rocketmoney.com/game on. rocketmoney.com/game on. All right, let's see if there's any more comments on this. Say it loud for the people in the back. Oh, no, I see. I missed here. We're getting a little reality TV going here. All right. Bill, Adam Guthrie was crystal ball to Clemson. We know they've had success recruiting offensive linemen in the state before, even getting a guy like Blake Miller who had an Ohio State offer. Your thoughts on the development? Is this a result of the change in management? Is it a done deal? Where do you stand on the Adam Guthrie recruitment?
Well, my feeling is things have changed a little because Adam Guthrie had a relationship with Justin Fry. So now a new relationship has to be built with Tyler Bowen. So in that aspect, things have changed a little bit. But Adam Guthrie has long told me that he's not going to do the narrow schools down thing where you go get, these are my final 10, these are my final 5, so and so. That the plan has been for him to take official visits and make a decision. And I guess you'll know that he's narrowed things down when he's come out with his official visits and then ultimately done with them. And he has. Alan True has an article on our site this morning that he has set 3 official visits, and one of them is to Ohio State. Guthrie's going to visit Clemson. No surprise there. He's going to visit Ohio State the weekend of June 6th. Not really a surprise there. I thought that would likely still happen. Very likely. And then he's got a Penn State visit scheduled. So he's got 3 visits, and we don't know right now. Will there be other visits? We'll see. But those 3 don't necessarily surprise me. So as I always like to say, if Ohio State gets a kid on campus, especially for an official visit, and especially if he's an Ohio kid, it's pretty tough to beat Ohio State. So we'll see what happens there. But I think in all likelihood, Guthrie will follow through with that plan and take those official visits. And at some point then, after he's done with those official visits, make his decision.
So I saw him, my son's basketball team had a common opponent, so we had scouting video. I believe he plays center for Miami Trace, and last time I checked, they were undefeated, but I do think Clemson wants him for football. Mark, your thoughts?
I saw recently they're undefeated. I think he posted 19-0. And you know what? I would say give Coach Bowen a chance to get in this race before you announce this race over. It's a long time between now and the finish line. People can become fast friends. You ever do that? Go out with a group of people and you gravitate towards someone. You're like, my soulmate. So, don't worry. It'll happen. And Bill, I think people are asking about your volume. I know Bill's not in his normal location for a few days. So
doing his best.
If we do have to suffer through it, it should only be a few more minutes. And I think next week, Bill will be back to his normal thing here. Yep. I think the kid from Miami Trace is probably the best offensive lineman in Ohio for the class. So I specifically would like, Guthrie is the guy. Over Sam Greer. He's a better athlete. I think he's a more fluid on the basketball court. And I think he has the future to be a left tackle in the NFL. The reason I'm saying that is because Dan knows I just broke down the entire class. I just watched a ton of film of all these guys. This was like a little sneak peek of what I think, because I think we're going to go through this by position with these things in the coming weeks. But when I got done, I actually was like, okay, put Guthrie ahead of Sam Greer. And I think Sam Greer is on a level. And I know Dan does and Bill does, so I think we have 2 in Ohio, but push comes to shove, I take Guthrie.
Interesting. Get on it, Mr. Bowen. I did not know that, so we need to take care of business there.
Speaking of Tyler Bowen, he is starting those relationships. In fact, I'm going to have an article on our site a little bit later today, probably late morning, early afternoon, on a young man from Texas. People probably have not heard a lot about this name, Zayden Krempem. He is from Prosper, Texas. Tyler Bowen reached out to Zayden's family on Tuesday, I believe it was Tuesday evening, and Zayden is interested. And if you look, you'll see his list. If you haven't already seen his list of scholarship offers, it's a who's who of college football powers, and he is going to try to get to Ohio State. He mentions that it's been a little bit difficult because with the coaching changes, it makes it hard to build relationships with the staff. But as he put it, Ohio State's not pressuring him. Nobody's pressuring him. He's going to take his time. He's going to build those relationships with the Ohio State staff, and hopefully he'll make a visit this spring to Ohio State, see what happens there. So Tyler Bowen is starting those relationships up.
Bill, you got a story up about the targets they're focusing on now as we move to 2026. One of the guys that I want to talk about is Brillan Wac. He's got it down to 4. Seems like he's a very good player. Please bring us up to speed on Brillan Wac as we get fixated on a new class here.
Yeah, he's not only got it down to 4 schools, he's got official visits set to all 4. He's going to Ohio State the weekend of June 20th. And the good news is, if you believe in the theory, right now, unless something changes, that's his last official visit. So he's got, it starts with Florida, end of May. Then he goes to Texas A&M. Then he goes to Auburn, and then Ohio State. And for such a top-level safety, that's a little bit of an unusual mixture of schools. Mississippi is one of the top safeties in the country. He is a huge Ohio State target, and he's the guy that Matt Guerrieri has done a great job recruiting. Again, used to be Ohio State kid from Alabama. That's not the same anymore. But how many kids has Ohio State gotten from the state of Mississippi? The list would be a short one. But they are very, very much in the running to get Brillan Wac.
All right, let's go through some of these questions before we sign off here. Bill, standard.
I'm on the volume. I am in a remote location. We have been having our hardwood floors refinished in our house, and anybody that's gone through that process knows you have to be out of the house for a couple days when that's done. But we will be back in our house, and I'll be back in my office later today or first thing in the morning. So all
look like
resolved.
You look like you're in the attic with Anne Frank.
Not quite.
Bill, actually, I had a good little question here. Oh, there's people wanting us to Bill, yeah. Standard Maxwell Riley update, no change, Bill?
No, he's still thinking, through things and all. And again, Tyler Bowen, he did reach out pretty quickly. Ryan Day reached out preemptively to Evan, or I should say Maxwell Riley, and told him, hey, if Justin Fry leaves, just be patient. Don't jump into anything. We're going to get a great offensive line coach. And now Tyler Bowen is the offensive line coach, and I expect that he'll be working hard to build a relationship with Maxwell Riley.
John Gorby says Sam Greer. Yeah, we just discussed Sam Greer, and we will going forward. He's obviously got an offer from Ohio State and is quite a player, but
and with Greer, that one's going to take some time. He has steadfastly said he is going to go through the process. Even if Justin Fry was still the offensive line coach, he was going to go through the process. He's going to take official visits. So that one he's not going to decide in the next week. It's going to take some time.
There's a lot of go ahead, Bill. Mark. Sorry.
We'll talk about that 2026 class. I think last year at this time we coined like a big 4. And, it was like Guthrie and Greer and Maxwell Riley and Adam Conroy were the 4 names at the time. I think 2 of those names have kind of been bumped out of that list, and there's 2 new names that have bumped in. And we may not know who gets the prize until summer, but I I don't know if we've taught. We showed Benjamin Cogden's film. You know, the big guy from Tuscarawas Valley. He was beating up the lesser competition, and Landry Breed at Menor. Landry might be the third best guy in the class. You know, if I don't want to give too much away, I really have moved him up my board. You know, and I know Adam. I know William Conroy is going down to IMG Academy, so that'll make his recruitment, and he's committed to Oklahoma, so he's kind of off the board. But no big deal. I think last year at this time we were kind of counting on him. Where there's other guys in Ohio that during this, you know, June summer camp period, Bill and I are going to be watching, and I can guarantee those guys will be at camp, whether it's Landry Breed or William Cogden fighting for the job. And you know what? Let's throw in Nathan Zappatelli, the kid from Menor Lake Catholic. He's got a nice offer list. I don't think we've ever mentioned him on this podcast, but he was a riser in my rankings. So, you know, he's a guy that, you know, really, just because we never mentioned him doesn't mean he doesn't deserve to be in that group. I would bet he's at an Ohio State camp this summer.
There's a lot of questions on
here. And I have a big four for 2027, but we will save that. But initially, I didn't think there was anybody in 2027 in Ohio. And I kind of have my own big four. So we'll do that when the time comes.
Yeah, there's also a lot of questions on here about Michigan and when they're going to get punished. Dude, if I knew that, I'd be living in Vegas. Nobody knows that. I've not talked to one person who I trust who has ever told me anything that I really felt was true about that in terms of a result. The NCAA is a cabal and moves at its own speed. So I get, believe me, how people get fired up about that. And I think I'm getting close to Doreen here when who really cares? We won the title and we're in good shape. So I'm not going to worry about that right now. All right. I think that's a good show for you guys. We will end on that note. Obviously, keep it locked in here because with the staff upheaval, there's going to be some recruiting information, and who better to follow that through than the dean, who was up in his church-like attic doing whatever he does behind closed doors. All right. We'll be back next week with these guys. You guys have a great weekend. Have a good one. Nutters of Buck.